So,
hello.
welcome back to Rio.
I'm back.
I got the wife back, so there we go.
We're back together, reunited.
We're back together, there you go. 2 weeks without each other. Ooh.
Oh.
First time in 2 years.
Yeah.
Ooh.
I didn't like it.
How was Amsterdam? Good? There you go. That's how it was. So, we were coming back from Los Angeles when the deportation happened. Back to
Go back to your own country. That's what
where
they told
we
me.
had done a seminar Coaches Week in Seattle and a seminar in Los Angeles, where we're going back in June actually.
Exactly.
And at the end of the podcast, I'll announce something that is pretty cool. So what we wanted to do actually on the way back was to do a podcast about the seminar because it's a new format and we're introducing some new things. So it did not happen 2 weeks ago, but finally here we are.
Here we are.
So you do not, no, you saw the seminar before actually. Yeah, in a way. And so
No,
which
I was to one
changes?
seminar.
Yeah, when you were still mostly conceptual, right? So
And it was also interesting because then I was in sprinting, so I never really lifted at all.
Mm-hmm.
And seeing the seminar, and now because I've been
2 weeks and all my training is gone. Anyway.
how you're
ahead.
training it. Yeah, and now I've been into lifting for a while, CrossFit.
Well, at the time when you did the seminar, you were mostly doing sprinting.
I was only doing sprinting and
only
I
doing
never...
sprinting and a little bit of stuff, the Strongfit stuff.
Yeah,
right?
just Strongfit stuff. My dad,
Of
not
course,
into
obviously,
it.
we had done a year and a half of trying to fix her hammy, so she had some understanding of it.
Yeah, but I never done
Yep.
strength like now, so it was a very different experience for me because I understood way better why you do things the way you do and where you saw the gaps, especially in CrossFit. So it was really cool for me
Right,
to
so
see
it was
it again.
the seminar she did was, you know, a lot of S pyramid and things like this, which are still there, honestly. But it was very conceptual, which is the way I think anyway. But the fact is, this is something I recognized by the time. I don't know if he was being stubborn or I just wanted to be able to give enough information before I move on to something more practical. But I did recognize the need that people have to go back to their gym on the Monday after the seminar and actually put it into practice. They have businesses to run and they need to be able to justify, first of all, the money spent on the seminar, Coaches Week and things like that. And how do you use it with your clients?
Yeah.
So, but it's always a fine line because if I don't tell people what to do, I tell them how to do it. So this is always that balance that I've been trying to strike that's been always so hard to really figure out is if I go too practical, I'm just telling you what to do, and if you don't understand the concept behind it, then you won't be able to adapt it to the proper context. So there's a bit of both at the same time. So for me, what I decided to do in the new seminar was to keep the major principles, obviously, like the S pyramid, the performance box, and things like this, but also to use movement during the seminar to explain the point. So what we did on the Saturday was to take the deadlift.
Yeah, so we started in Seattle first before we went to...
Seattle, before in LA, right. In Seattle is we took the deadlift. On Saturday morning, I explained a little bit the idea of the tension of your position, right? Which is a main concept, right, for Strongfit. Don't teach position, teach tension. Okay, what does that mean? So what we did is I used the arm strings as an example and how to engage the hammies. And this is something I learned from Jenna from sprinting, is that the hammy, the point of the hammy is not to bend the leg, the point of the hammy is to lift the leg. When you go in sprinting, you do not bring your foot back and go forward, you bring your foot forward almost right away, which means you're not trying to kick your own ass, you're trying to kick your own hammy, right? The foot actually straight up. When you look at it at full speed, it looks like the foot is going back, but they're actually working very, very hard in bringing the foot up, not back. We'll do a video on that. But what I thought was very interesting is with that idea of the point of the hammy lifting the leg up and not back, is that it engages the lower abs so much in that case. I'd say that many times, but when Jenna started showing me sprint, I got low abs that were sore for 6 months straight. I was like, all right, so what if the hammies and the low abs are connected from a functional perspective, which means you're not supposed to use the hammies without using the low abs, which kind of makes sense, honestly. But anyway, you know, with the psoas and all that stuff. I was like, all right, so let's test it. So, and that's a test we did at the seminar, is lay down, do a leg curl with the band, just doing that, and feel the outside hammy engaging. And now you do the same leg curl, but you're going to plant your knee into the ground like you're trying to lift the leg, but you can't because you're face down, and then bend the leg. And you'll see that now you hit the inside hammy instead of the outside hammy. So the idea was to explain that for the internal torsion, you needed the low abs that we teach with the external obliques opener, which suddenly made sense. So from there, out of that, see the hammy, Janina made everybody do some sprint drills to get the low abs going, to get the hammies going. And then from there, we took it toward the deadlift, where I did some deadlift rows, some stiff leg, and then we put it together on the deadlift so that they could feel the entire torque chain. And I thought it worked really well. That was a lot of fun.
And people, I saw people, the way they responded, and it was also cool because she did some talking and then exercise and then some talking and then exercise, so people never disengaged.
Right.
I felt like you could take them more on like a journey.
A journey, yeah, exactly. It was way better. And at every step, we made them move.
Yeah.
So they could feel what we were talking about.
And especially to people who are super new to Strongfit, I think that will be the key, you know?
But even if you're not, like I think, and again, this is my mistake, but I always struggle with that line, is it's one thing to understand a concept, it's another to put it into practice. Like a lot of you know that it takes 2 years to get some of the, how long does it take to get the protocol right?
Well,
like the protocol is so simple, right? The concept is so simple. It takes 2 years to get it done correctly for you.
I said that to people at the seminar too, is I'm like, I live with this guy.
Yeah.
I see him 24/7. I still have things
all day, every day.
All day, every day.
Minus 2 weeks. Yeah.
But I still have stuff where I go like, oh, this is what you mean.
Yeah.
And until it hits me,
words don't.
I don't. It's like I had to blow up my back a few times on the deadlift before I start to understand that I have to engage my low abs.
It's been 3 years that I've been telling her exactly how to not do certain things, but it doesn't work like that.
It doesn't work like
that.
Shit. And I think that will, And it's also interesting because there's always something, right?
No, but that's my mistake too, is words don't do the work, but then I'm conceptual, so I'm always using words and things to explain the point, but it has to be felt. So I was stuck with not wanting to show people what to do because I was afraid they were going to misunderstand it and just, have a system in place for Strongfit, which I didn't want. But at the same time, if I just explain, it's all words and they don't get it either.
Yeah, but I think with this thing, people will recognize when the mistake, at least before the mistake or when the mistake happens, what's happening.
Right.
I think you create way more of an awareness this way.
So that's what we did for the new seminar. Is we take, for example, a deadlift on Saturday, and then we decompose it as to let's make it work. Why the deadlift? Because as usually it's one of the simpler movements to fix, because that's where people fuck it up the most. We can do that on a strict press, and then at the opener, and then like a small assessment as well on Sunday of a problem, what do I see, how to fix it. So really the more practical aspect of Strongfit, you know what this is, right? It's the aspect that you can use in your gym. On Monday, after the seminar, where do you start? You have to be able to use that with your clients. You need to make money, especially right now, right, with the whole pandemic. And then, okay, so how do we do that? And so there has to be a happy medium between knowing enough of the principles so that you can apply what I show you to the proper context, but at the same time enough of a practical experience so that you have something to start with. Otherwise all you're left is words and nowhere to go.
Yeah. Well, yeah, then it's also easier to be so overwhelmed that you get in kind of a freeze state. I think that's what I saw the biggest, and I thought that was really great between Amsterdam and this seminar, is that people still left the weekend like, what? But a bit less than completely
in freeze like usual.
Not not necessarily freeze, less overwhelmed by all the new ideas. especially people who haven't got into Strongfit yet. So I think you did great.
Who hasn't gone into Strongfit yet? No, but I thought it was very interesting because, for example, like, you know, from my side, it's like doing podcasts and things like that. Without feedback, it's so exhausting because you're kind of shooting in the dark without feedback. So you're trying to provide information, you're trying to do what you feel is the correct way, but without feedback, you never know. So you're kind of putting yourself out there continuously and you feed off of the energy of the other people. So imagine if you're a comedian and you have to do your bit on a Zoom call with no one sharing their video.
Yeah.
Imagine if you're a comedian doing that. Imagine how soul-crushing that must be, and trying to be funny, and everybody's judging you without cameras on.
Yeah.
Imagine how hard that would be. Honestly, sometimes that's how the podcast and then the seminar, the wrong seminar, that's how it feels. I feel like I don't know what I'm doing here. I don't know who's, like, where do you want me to go with this? What do I do? It's you even from my side, you can feel very lost in those things.
I can totally imagine.
So I like the taking the deadlift and decomposing a lot because I could see people going from doing it incorrectly to doing it correctly, going like, oh, that's how it feels, and that was a proper way to coach.
Yeah.
It's like it's not the position on the lift is simple, but there's so many ways to fuck it up, right? But when they go like, oh, that's how it feels, then they started to look good, and I felt like they got something out of the session that they could use. So that was a success.
Oh yeah.
So the seminars, I like them a lot for that.
Because we had a pretty decent group, and they all got something out of it. I feel like.
The deadlift, I think so. Yeah.
Well, even also the other exercises.
Yeah, no, obviously, but I was talking about Sunday morning. But then we did that with a bunch of stuff. Yeah, and then we also talked with a new thing about anxiety, not inflammation yet at the time, but toward the Q-1, because it's also toward we see the business is not taking people to the CrossFit Games. That is such a small part of your business. Most people just want to sweat and have a good workout, okay? But you also have the people that come with injuries, that come with car accidents, that come and need to lose weight, that come with anxiety, depression. It's actually a sizable part of the population, and you're going to have to be able to do an assessment, understand where the problem starts, so that you can address programming to move forward. Yeah. So I made also an effort about talking about that, like a bit more programming, like, all right, so you've done the assessment. I can do a mini one, explain what I'm looking for, a history of athletics, stuff like that. And that was part of the seminar. But after that, he was like, all right, so programming. If you look, your entire business is assessing, coaching, programming. Those are the three pillars of your business, right? Coaching, so it's knowing movement, it's tension over position, it's things like this. Assessing, like we talk about it, but it's understanding where the problem comes from. But then we have to talk about what do you do about it.
And that is so difficult, right?
Right, because you can make a business on assessments. Honestly, like if you get good at it, you'll charge $300-400 per assessment. It's an hour and a half. People will live with their mind blown. It's great for your reputation. And you look like a genius, and you haven't done anything of substance. It's not entirely true, I'm exaggerating. Like identifying the cause of the problem is the root cause of the issue is everything, right? If you don't know where the key log is, how can you help someone? But it's only step one. So I'm not saying it, I'm exaggerating when I'm saying you haven't done anything, that's not true. It is a vital part of the work is to assess correctly where the problem comes from. There's no question there. But it's only one of, and they're not step one, step two, they both live in the same place. It's just, it's the other half of the work, which is now let's take you on a weekly basis and make you do the work that is necessary in order to achieve the balance we're looking for. And then what do I have to do? I have to do skill, which is putting tension in the right places until I develop muscle capacity, which is muscle quality and quantity, that I can turn then into neural output, which is the creation of strength in that area. But that part is the hardcore part, is the, meat and potatoes that you have to do with a client. That's when weeks in, weeks out. That's where the hard part is. The assessment, it's not that it's easy, but it is simple in practice because it's not, the person is coming to you for help, so they're coming to you invested. Usually, if they don't, assessment is failing anyway. But they're coming to you invested. So usually they really want to know what's wrong because they think it gives them the key to the kingdom. Maybe it does, but then the real work starts. And the real work after 3 weeks, when they lost that early motivation because now it's not fun, that the work is there, now they're sore, they have to do the same exercise again and again and again. That's where coaching comes in.
Or when you have to adjust the programming to maybe what that person is doing work-wise.
Right, and then they're not the same as they were 4 weeks ago, so now what? Where do we go from there? Do we increase the skill of the exercise? Do we increase the weight on the exercise? Do we increase the reps? Do we decrease the rest time?
And how the person responds, by the way.
Right, and what are their goals and stuff like that. So there's a huge part of that that have to also be touched because that's where your business lives. I would not build a business based on assessments. Like it's great money, but first of all, it's a new person all the time or once a year. You could make very good money doing that, but you're not. Are you helping? Is a question. So money-wise, yes. Business-wise, yes. And you can sound and look very smart doing that. But are you helping? Like, if you don't do the work after the assessment, then what was the assessment good for? Like, we tell people go find your lats, and then what? What if they don't? What if they're doing it? Because I had that with a coach lately. That's the critique video that I was doing, where I was telling him to do wide grip pull-ups in internal torque, and he was like, oh, it hurts my AC joint. I'm like, why are you probably doing it in external torque? He was like, no, I have a wide grip. Look at the video. Of course, it's in external torque. So there's a very strong athlete who's a coach himself, done that, and he still made a mistake about using the latissimus dorsi in external torque instead of going teres major in internal torque. So shows you it's not that simple. He thought he was doing it correctly, ended up not doing it. But that's where the work is that. It's like, no, that was the wrong idea. So let's go forward and everything. And I think that's where the true part of helping people is. And then we made the same mistake because, for example, that coach went to Coach's Week. So out of the Coach's Week, he did not get what he should have gotten because he had 4 days with us, and he still got the wrong idea out of that pull-up. So that's a failure on our part that I will fix whenever that I'm fixing now. But also next time I see him, we're gonna go through exercises until I get what I want, which is internal torque, which is not what he was doing. So there was an issue there. I mean, so that's where the real work is that, because otherwise if you do the movement incorrectly, because you can do any movement in IT or ET, you can develop shoulder pain or at least never fix it. And if you never fix that shoulder pain, then I'm not doing my job. So you got to be careful with that. Assessment is a pillar of your business, but it's not the only one.
Right.
Coaching is the second one, programming is the third. You need all three. And so that's what I'm really addressing in the new seminar is assessing, coaching, and programming.
Yeah.
Programming is a performance box.
Applying Strongfit.
Applying the Strongfit principle. Programming is the performance box.
Yeah.
You know, like skill to muscle capacity to neural output. But how do I get there?
Yeah. And
then if you look at assessment, that's the control function, the S pyramid, that's the basis of so many principles I talk about. Yeah. And then the coaching is tension over position and everything that ensues, internal torque, external torque. So where does the nervous system and all that fits into it? Well, that's what I was doing on Sunday.
Yeah, because then you also go into anxiety programming.
Well, you have to, because if you go about anxiety, so people when they come into the gym want performance. What does performance mean exactly? Well, it can be going to the CrossFit game, but really what performance means is getting better at whatever it is. So if you train an athlete for a year and they come and they have better performance on the field, but their anxiety is starting to get to the point where they can't train anymore or they can't compete at 100%, then we're starting to have an issue. Right, so that means that making sure that the training itself does not increase anxiety or does not crash them into depression or stuff like that is a very important part of programming. So that's why I need the nervous system, that's why I need all that, because without it, we're going to end up, we can be right on paper and crash people completely, which I've seen time and time again. And that's a little bit the problem in leaving people too much on their own. You know, like go find your lats or go explore. It's like, yeah, but at some point, and that's a mistake I made, without performance, without like, all right, we need to get better, then you don't make progress. What does performance need? Performance needs testing. Is testing stressful? Very. Can it give you anxiety if done incorrectly? Very much so. But the truth is, without testing, you do not get performance. The greatest thing CrossFit did was put a testing mechanism to fitness. Because before that, it was 5 sets of 15. No one cares about the weight because it's on machines. The only way you get to know if you're doing well is whether or not you look like a pro bodybuilder. Problem is genetic is a massive factor in this. Some people gain muscle, they don't even have to train hard, they just gain muscle, they look good. Others don't because they're not built for that. They might be built for strength, they're built for something else. So now we're going toward powerlifting, which is a testing, always are you getting stronger? But that's not the overall fitness. Overall fitness is also running, which has a testing, but it's getting leaner. So you can say I test body fat. So all this is like, okay, but how do I know that my oops, sorry. No, it's still going.
2 weeks without me, you're ready.
Exactly.
Okay.
How do I know my training is getting better? And if you look, that's exactly what CrossFit brought. It was like, oh, we're going to measure. So you can do grace, 30 clean and jerk, and then we're going to do it for time, and then we're going to see it 6 months from now, you're doing better. So instead of measuring body fat or things like that, we went directly at the training. So is it the only way to test? No. Is it one of the ways in a specific context and we should use? Yes. Now there's a fine line there between data, too much data, and not enough. If we want performance, we need to have enough data to know that what we're doing works. So that means that we cannot just sorry, the camera is blinking. We cannot do just what's called exploration all the time. There has to be some exploitation. You cannot build all the time. Sometimes you have to test. You have to see if what you do is working. So
sometimes you also need to push.
Sometimes you need to push. The fact is
you can't get soft.
You can't get soft. And that's the problem with exploration is a lot of people have used the concept of exploration to get soft. Sometimes you got to put your head down and work hard. And does that mean you're going to be disconnected from you? Not fully disconnected because that's not good. But you don't want to be fully connected to yourself at all points either. If you're doing Fran or stuff like that, or a sled, you got to be able to push the sled regardless on how you feel, because guess what? Life sometimes is not in your comfort zone. You got to go past it.
And there's a beauty into that humility of just head down and doing the work. I think there's a great value in that.
There's a great value in that.
Right.
So in the right context and within certain lines. So it's like it's exactly like data. But you
can't deny that there's an importance for that.
There's an importance for performance. Now it's a fine line, right? Because it's like data. If you have too much data, it can drive you completely crazy. But data can be used to know that we're also pushing forward. So, and that's where I think the mistakes are made. There is both sides of the arch, and what you have to achieve is balance. You have to have enough data that you know you're doing good, but also don't go completely ballistic on it and judge yourself based on that data because you're not understanding all context that come with it.
Right. As a wise man once said, it's all an arch, right?
All arches. All of them are arches. And so,
no, but it's true.
But it's true. But arches also in the sense of balance, but balance achieved through tension.
Right.
And this is, we'll talk about it on a stupid podcast, but someone asked me what mistake did I make, and I didn't make them with the principles, but I made them in the applications of the principles. And for example, one of them was performance. I lived in a world of performance since I'm a kid. Like I've been at a national level of sports since I'm 11 years old, I think. So I spent the last 30 years of my life, 35, dealing with performance at a high level. So either with me or with my athletes. So sometimes I have a tendency to compensate the other way, which means to bring them down, which is necessary because anybody who's at a national level or plus is an insane person. Right, we all have issues. If we are at that level, we're not, because it's not based on health, that's for sure. So it's based on something else, which is insanity. So there's a need to to find that exploration, to find the other side of the arch. But that doesn't mean that I get only to talk about that, and which is a mistake I made. So the key is to understand that balance between the exploration, the where am I, versus sometimes you got to put your head down and do the work. Yeah. And in CrossFit, some workouts are going to suck to no end, And guess what? You just put your head down and you do the work.
And well, that's what I meant a little bit when I said that since I got into lifting and into CrossFit, that I understood way better how you build Strongfit, especially in that time where you build the principles, right? The principles were already there, but you gave name to the principles. I think people were pushing themselves to no end, where it was
at first, yeah.
Well, I think
old
still,
school,
right?
old school CrossFit, not as much, but at the beginning.
Exactly.
Ooh.
So I can totally see how you had to balance it out to make it.
At the time, you have to understand, when I started, everybody thought they were going to make the CrossFit Games. Because at the time, you had a shot at it. So at least you had a shot at regional. So when I started, it was, I remember I had my CrossFit affiliate in 2009. So that's when you couldn't make the games. And within the next 2-3 years, the regionals were created, things like this, and people could make like the top 40 in your region. So you had SoCal, NorCal. So if you train hard, you had a chance at next year making regionals if you were coming from an athletic background. And so people had that pipe dream of making the regionals or making the games. Very fast, it's going to be obvious that you're not going to make the games, but you can still make regionals. And so people were just killing themselves. If you couldn't make regionals, then they started to have like smaller competitions. Like they had the OC Throwdown. Remember that? That's old school. In SoCal, you had major competition with money coming in. So people, even without money, just the glory of it, what people were murdering themselves to make it to those competitions. So me, I saw that, I was like, all right, you're all getting completely fucked up out of doing, the external torque stuff and everything. They were not doing any assistance work at the time because De Castro said bodybuilding is for not us, let's put it this way. And at the time, CrossFit was very cultish. So people refused to do assistance work. Like there was some programming where assistance work was doing Murph. I kid you not. I saw one where Fran was a warm-up, Murph was the assistance work. Yeah.
That's insane.
It was a misfit, I think. Or something like that back in the... It was completely insane programming, and it broke everybody, of course. But it was insane programming. And I was like, guys, assistance work. And that's where like the rope pull started to come in, the S pyramid, the yoke carries. I was like, we need to balance those people, otherwise they're all going to die. Yeah, they're all going to break, and then they all quit, and we don't want that.
There's also a touch of romanticizing the whole getting injured and come back and being injured and still pushing through it.
That was so scary. That was so scary. Like I've never seen so many people like dislocating their shoulders in a competition, and trying to go for another rep, which obviously they should not because they just ripped everything. And everybody cheering and clapping at the extra 2 reps that they did. 2 reps at the expense of whatever ligaments is holding the shoulder together. And people are clapping and cheering. And I was always like, are you insane? Every rep is 6 months more of pain and stuff we need to do to get the shoulder back. And I've seen that so many times, people trying to compete with a partially torn hammy. And I'm like, why? You're out. You're not going to win anymore. Like, why? Outside of hurting yourself more, this is stupid. But they were pushing that warrior stuff. I'm like, you're not a warrior. This is exercising. It's not even a sport. It's exercising. And you're not going to Afghanistan tomorrow. I got to tell you, you're not getting ready for war either. There was an insanity toward that where I was like, all right, this shit had to stop. And then the anxiety was through the roof. And I was like, all right, so why did I say we have to have a stop to it? Because I want to see CrossFit do well. I'm one of the biggest defenders of CrossFit, but I know that to do that, we needed to establish certain ideas, like for example, strict pull-ups before keeping before butterfly. I said it, I don't know, 7-8 years ago and got blasted for it at the time and everything. Guess what? A few years back, like last month said it. Because it's obvious. Right, so those are the stuff we need to talk about. Right. And so that's a bit part of the seminar because now I'm going on tangents as usual. But I think those are all things that should be into the seminar. It's like, all right, tension over position, how to build a pull-up, how to execute it correctly, ET versus IT. I might do that in the next seminar. I might use the pull-up as an example, for example.
I like it. And do you want to talk a little bit about the Seattle Coaches Week, or do you want to go into the LA seminar?
Right, the LA seminar. Also, what we did, by the way, is we included the sprinting from Janina. Like we had the exercises so cool. that connect the hammy to the low abs, which I think are so important. But then we also did some sprinting drills because CrossFitters can't run.
Right.
I'll let you say it. Yeah, an external torque, and then with the hips and stuff like that. Yeah, and so
which I get because you're looking for a specific tension.
You're looking for specific tension. The problem is that's the incorrect one for running.
And
for sprinting anyway.
I understand the point of view because a lot of the lifting is also like.
You're so nice.
Right?
Yeah. Oh my God. Yeah. She doesn't believe anything she's saying right now. That's so nice. Yeah. Yeah. No, go ahead.
Can I hide who I truly am that well?
Yeah, be nice to the camera. Go ahead. Sorry, we're sweating because here is summer, and I gotta tell you, it's 40 degrees inside the house.
Yeah.
No, that I mean 110. Yeah.
Because a lot of the lifting is so here, right?
Yeah.
So
always in external torque for the.
So it's funny when they run to me, but.
No, it is. But the problem is, first of all,
is
you.
Different.
It is. You're running slower than you could run with better technique, and you're also spending a lot more energy in the wrong places.
Exactly. And imagine if you can find a tension in running, a different tension than, for example, the tension you look for lifting. That means that if you do a lifting running workout, you can look for different types of tension, which will get you less.
Right. And imagine if each running that you do works your lower abs and your hammies the way it should. That means that you're building a better structure for the other running. So for the running, but the other activities as well. So you get hurt less no matter what. So we have incorporated that teaching to run from sprinting, since Janina is a high-level sprinter, so she's qualified to teach that. And I think it's a great add to the seminar and to Strongfit. I was very stubborn when it comes to sprinting. It took me actually going out with. You started training after we went out together?
Yeah.
Yeah, it took me going out with a sprinter to really go through my thick head
first.
That I should do it. I've always believed this was great, but I've never done it myself. But now I understand why, because it took me 6 months to get anywhere near good. I'm not good, but and you make progress. It took me 6 months to actually not feel completely retarded.
Yeah, but it's also something that is not seen as a necessity necessarily. I can tell you if you, or at least maybe it's because I'm coming from a running background, but because of it's just you find tension. That tension you can apply to a lot of things. Let's say box jumps. Let's say a lot of moving aspects.
No, but plus outside, if we talk real sports, we can go wrestling, we can go kickboxing, we can go. A lot of that would benefit so much from having stronger feet, strong feet, baby. It would. I know. Le Strongfit. You will benefit so much from that, and you'll be surprised how much sprinting is done through the feet rather than through your legs. That's what we all think. It's not a leg thing. It's a feet thing first, and then goes into the hammies and the glutes, but it starts with the feet. And that was I did not realize, how could my feet be so weak? That's what I didn't understand at first. I carried 1,000-pound yoke carry. My feet have to be strong, and yet they're not. And the pounding, the impact that she put me through for 6 months was, I felt violated every single day waking up. And I was doing it, I wasn't doing it every day, I was doing it twice a week. And it was murder. It was 30-minute session twice a week, and my low abs and feet were sore every single day for 8 months straight. It's crazy.
Yeah.
It's an insane thing. So, but we incorporated that in the seminar. I want to have an hour or two, so 1 or 2 sessions during the seminar where we show the tension of running, tension over position. It will change the way you understand how your hammies work.
Yeah, and also translates very well to the sled.
Yeah, actually, it's the same technique you can use on the sled. And but again, it will change the way you understand how the hammies work. So if you understand that, then you know how to use it better on the deadlift, for example.
Right, that's how I feel, but I don't know if that's because I'm coming from running into lifting or it's because of running. It's awesome for me.
No, because it's all the same movement. It's internal torque for speed anyway. So explosiveness is external torque, but you can use internal torque for speed, and that's the sprinting. But so when you start to feel those low abs connecting properly, that's the oblique opener, and that's the sensation I want you to get when you lift. So the oblique opener is great, but you're laying down. Sprinting is actually it's the oblique opener in action. So once you get that idea, you can use it toward deadlift, toward anything. The progress I've made off of the sprinting drills, I have a hard time explaining. I wish I had understood that years and years and years back, before I started to go into strongman, or obviously during the MMA days. Like, why would a kickboxer and a wrestler not do sprints at least once a week?
To teach you that.
That's weird. No, it's better we didn't meet until we met, actually. Like, I would definitely get cancelled. You were hot at 16. Thank God I didn't meet you. Like, jailbait.
You can't put it on YouTube.
Who cares? You're my wife. And I met you, what? We're together, you're 21. I'm good. You can drink, we can date. That's the rule. You can go into a nightclub. I'm out. Legally, that's it. That's how society judges it. She can drink, she's allowed to date me. That's how it works. How is a wrestler and a kickboxer not doing a sprint session once a week? That, you would get so much out of that.
Oh,
so that's something I definitely want to cover in a seminar.
I think even like sprint drills and like very short will benefit anybody very, very well.
Right. Yeah, I know. There's no question.
The only mistake that you can make is by putting them through too much and get them too sore. I did that to you a few times where I did a full sprint session with him.
And I couldn't walk for 2 days.
I did that with some another coach that joined us that day. And I was like, okay, I need to.
Plus I thought I thought the next day my low abs were ripped. Like, I was like, did I do something, or like I couldn't?
It's quality work,
but it's abusive. Sprinting is abusive. You just don't realize it until the next day. You go like, all right, that was no joke.
Yeah.
But so we're not gonna do Touch Coaches Week this time. We'll do it for another one. All I want to say is that I'm doing. It was a great Coaches Week, and then I'm doing them myself. So. Let's talk about the elephant in the room. Like Richard went on his own to do his own thing. So more power to him. Everybody should find their niche, their thing, and go after it. So I think I'm very happy for him that he found the way he want to go. We do not agree on balance in that way. Like, he wants to go toward exploration and all that stuff. And I disagree, because that's what I saw in the last few years, that we are crashing people from going too much after exploration. And I believe there's a weakness there I believe that Arch is not balanced. So that was the disagreement, really. And he decided to pursue his niche, as he should. So, as he should, he has his own thing, and he should push it forward because he feels he's right. I feel I'm right, he feels he's right. That's usually how it works in life. Over time, we'll see who was. Maybe we're both right, maybe we're both wrong. Who knows? Doesn't matter. For the time being, Richard is on his own doing his thing, so that means that I'm doing the seminar on my own. Janina is helping me, and Coaches Week is back to being me, doing the whole thing, which actually was a lot of fun. So I was very happy. Yeah. It ended up being a good thing because I've not been doing Coaches Week for a long time, so I could leave it to Richard. And I feel that was too much as well. So all this ended up being a natural evolution of things, I believe. So that's the seminar in Seattle and in LA. And then we'll do a short one on the Coaches Week so I can explain what I want out of that part too.